You're fired. That's what my client told me when I was about to build his $650,000 home. I had a job evaporate out of thin air and it rocked my company. In today's episodes, I'm breaking down the lessons learned and how I put myself in a position to never be in that situation again, beholden to one person who had way too much power over my situation. I know you're gonna love the episode. Tune in. We have to let you go. You're getting fired. It's been 6 months and we've gone with another builder. This was the phone call that I was on, and it was the worst possible news that I could have gotten. I was running my construction company. This was probably 7 years ago, 7 years ago. And we had gone through a very intense planning session with this client over multiple months, quoting out his plans, revisions of the plans, you know, what things he wanted, what finishes, how much the thing was going to cost. We had submitted for his permit. We had gone through all the municipality. We'd gotten the permit in hand, and we had even started to clear his lot. We'd finally gotten in there, and he's getting a little frustrated with how long the planning stage had taken. But we get in there, we start knocking trees down, and it starts raining. And it rains and rains. It rained for about 2 weeks straight, right? So then the site work guy comes back out there when it finally stops raining, and he says, oh man, you know, this ground is really, really mucky, and we've got to pull some more trees out, and we've got to scrape off the organics, and if we run this trackhoe over this ground, it's just going to make the soil worse, because we've got to muck out all the organics and bring in fill dirt. If you're in construction, you know what I'm talking about. And the more we move around on this site, the worse it's going to make it. So we just need to let the site dry out. Like, give it a week or two, and it'll dry out. So I call the client, I tell him that, he's like, whatever, okay. But then the next week it rains. Then it dries out for a week, and then it rains again. And this went on for like 2 months. We could not get this site dry. And I'm kind of hamstrung, right? I want to progress. I'm calling the site contractor like every day, like, all right, can we check it out? Can we check it out? He's not willing to do it because he knows best. He's been doing site work and clearing land for 20 something years, and he was right. But it doesn't really matter because the client was getting so frustrated with me on the delays. And so he calls me up and just flat out fires me. And I try to explain, like, it's not my fault. This is what's happening. And he's like, he doesn't care. He's already hired another builder. He's already fired me and replaced me. And so now this builder gets to walk into a fully permitted home, plans done, site is, basically cleared, and he gets to take, the advantage of all this work that I have done up to this point and build this beautiful custom home. Not only that, it's in my downtown. It's like literally 3 or 4 blocks from my house. So I gotta drive by this house, every couple of days and see the progress. And the thing was, I really needed that job. I really needed it. I had a project manager who had been working on the job, doing all the permitting, knew every detail about it. He was gonna build the house. Now he doesn't have anything to do. $650,000 contract, which was probably a fourth of the revenue that I was gonna do that year. And it just slides off the plate, not there. I mean, dude, that's a lot of bathroom remodels. That's a lot of decks and additions to make up $650,000 in lost revenue. And even if another client comes in my office tomorrow, says, hey, I wanna build a custom home, it's gonna be 3 or 4 months before we've gotten them through the permitting process and can actually break ground, at best. So, and that's, you don't start making money until you start really building, right? And so this is just not a good situation for me. And I'm driving by this house and I'm seeing this and I'm scrambling, trying to get little jobs and fill in the gaps. And I mean, dude, I'm getting so bitter and so angry and so mad. Like, how did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? This sucks. This wasn't even my fault. It was a stupid rain, da da da. And after that passed, right, I let that emotion be there, okay? Can't necessarily control that. It just happened. But after that passed, I thought, what can I learn from this? Did I make any mistakes? Sure, it's not my fault that it rained, but let me kind of dig into what could I have done? What can I learn from this? One of the things that I said was, I didn't have enough intensity on the front end. I did not push hard enough with the architect, the engineers, the town to get the permit and get it through. Because if I had gotten that done in, 2 or 3 months, well, maybe the client would have had more patience with me, or maybe we would have gotten the land clearing done when it was dry, and we would have been, foundation out of the ground by the time it started raining. It would have been fine. If I'd had more intensity on the front end, then maybe I could have gotten a little lucky on the back end. Number 2, I don't have enough jobs. If one $650,000 house dropping off my plate is going to rattle me that much, and it's going to put such a hole in my schedule and such a hole in my revenue, maybe I don't have enough jobs. And I need to sell more jobs. I need to build a bigger pipeline. And I need to build a more consistent business. And then number 3, well, maybe I'm in the wrong business. Here I am legitimately groveling and begging this client to take me back, to deal with my incompetence, to deal with his timelines, dragging on, and pleading with him because I'm going to have a world of hurt. Like I don't have enough work now, and I can't keep my guys busy, and I'm not going to make enough money, and on and on and on. And here I am just like at the mercy of this guy who really, to some degree, made an illogical decision. It's like, look, it's raining and we really can't do anything about it. And we're going to get the house built. It's going to dry out and it's going to be fine. But he made an illogical decision. And you know what? It was his prerogative to do it because he was writing the checks. It was his land. It was his house. And he wanted to fire me. And he wanted to switch builders. And that made him feel better. And so that's what he did. But I put myself in that situation by building the business I had built, which was, contracting custom homes. If you listen to my podcast at all, you know that was my background for 15 years. But I'm looking at like, wow, I have a business where I'm putting a lot of power and authority over my life in other people's hands. And that encounter really, really shaped me. They say that pain is a much, much better teacher than success because you really pay attention to pain. When the chips are down, when things are going wrong, that feedback you really pay attention to. And because sometimes with success, it's like, it really wasn't even your fault that you were successful. You just got lucky. You got good market. There were times where in construction, anybody with a pickup truck and a hammer could get as much work as they wanted. It didn't really mean that you were a great builder. It just meant there was a lot of demand. It was a good time in the market. And so at this point, I was starting to buy rentals. I had, I think, 4 or 5 trailers, and I think I had 1 or 2 rental homes at that point. And I used that experience as fuel to push me forward because I definitely did not want to be in this same situation ever, ever, ever again. And that was the biggest lesson that I took from that. Yes, I took intensity, right? Because we see in real estate, time kills deals. You drag stuff out. You don't push on due diligence with intensity. You don't make offers. You don't follow up. Same thing with investors. Same thing with people you're loaning money to. If you don't stay on top of that, stay on top of your property management, turning these properties over, like there's an intense focus. And if you lose that, maybe it'll be okay, but maybe, another mishap is going to befall you a few months down the road. And now you're really behind. So intensity, make hay while the sun shines. I learned my lesson there. Not having enough jobs. When I closed my first apartment deal, it's like, okay, that's cool that I closed this 12 unit, but I'm not going to sit around the campfires of success until they go out. Wow, look at this deal I did. This is awesome. It's like, no, I'm going to go out and find the next deal. I'm going to build a portfolio that is big so that if one deal goes bad or one deal isn't really working out too well or not paying me that much, I'm not so focused on that's the only thing going that I have. But number 3, that was the lesson I really learned is, am I in the right business? Is this the type of client that I want? Do I want to build something where each client could control 25% of my yearly budget, my yearly income? that's a lot of risk concentrated in one irrational human being. Because human beings are irrational. We make bad decisions, we do crazy stuff, we get divorced, we do things that just don't make sense. So how can I diversify that? Now I look at my business now, right? I have basically three client classes. Number one client class is my tenants. Second client class I have is my investors. And the third client is my borrowers, right? In money lending, mortgages I do, and hard money loans I do. So those are my clients now. Let's talk about my tenants. Do my tenants have power over me? Absolutely. If all my apartments went vacant, I'd be in a real big trouble, right? With paying my mortgages and paying my bills. They definitely have power over me. But I have diversification of that power, right? I think between the self-storage and the apartments and all this stuff, it's like there's probably 1,500 people that are involved in my business as being my clients. So if their hot water heater's not working, I want to get out there and fix it, right? If they're not happy because they've got they've got a bug issue, like I want to get the exterminator out there. But if they're so unhappy that they want to leave, they want to break their lease, or maybe they don't pay me on time or they don't pay rent at all, they're only one out of 1,500 of my clients that I have to deal with. And that one person, they don't have a lot of power over me. I'll tell you right now, if I have a tenant that is unhappy, I don't lose a lot of sleep over it. For example, I talked about we had a pipe bust under the slab. And we worked on it with intensity. We got a plumber out there. We broke open the slab. We fixed it. But it took 4 or 5 days from start to finish. And guess what? Those tenants, they didn't have water. I mean, we turned the water on at night, but like it was a big inconvenience for them. But, they didn't leave. But if one or two of them had left and been like, you know what, I'm leaving this apartment complex. I'm going to another place, whatever. Okay. You know what? We're going to refill that unit in the next few weeks, and it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not losing sleep and stressing over it like I did losing a $650,000 contract. So diversification of the tenant base and your clients there is huge. This is why I moved from single family into multifamily. When you have a single family deal, if your tenant doesn't pay you, what's your vacancy rate? 100%. What's your loss of capital? 100%. What's your mortgage and bills? They're still 100% too. So it's a really, really bad thing if one of your tenants leaves and you only have one property. But if you've got 10 single family homes and one of them's defaulting or not paying or giving you issues, it's still a bad thing, but it's not as big of a deal. And that's the beautiful thing about multifamily is when you buy something, I mean, dude, there's usually 12, 16, 24, 36, 100 tenants in that building. If one leaves, that's at worst a 10% vacancy, or at best, maybe even just a 1% vacancy rate. It's not really moving the needle too much. I mean, yeah, you want to get that unit refilled, but it isn't red alert, all hands on deck. Second thing is the investors, right? The investors are my clients. But the amount of hand-holding I was having to do with custom homes, it's like you're having to manage their emotions, you're having to manage their budget. This is a lot of times the largest purchase they've ever made in their whole life. There's banks involved. There's many, many decisions. They get paralyzed with what color tiles they want. And you got to hold their hand through all of that. And let me tell you, after doing it for a long, long time, it sucks. It's not fun. I never want to sit across from another kitchen table with a housewife and a husband and go through budgets and do all this stuff again. I just don't want to do it. Because with an investor, it's a real simple transaction. Like they give you $100,000 to invest in the deal and you pay them, right? You pay them monthly, whether it's a monthly distribution or you're flipping something and you're paying them back their principal plus their cut of the profits, whatever it is, as long as you communicate with them once a month, sometimes once a quarter, and you pay them once a month, once a quarter, or depending on the structure of the deal, but you pay them back and you make them a profit, that's all they want. It's not like they have this huge hammer over you unless you don't keep up your end of the deal, right, with paying them back. If you don't pay them back, yeah, it's going to get stressful and that's going to be a tough client. But it's a lot easier to say, hey, you gave me $100,000, I promised you 10% on it, and I gave you back $110,000. Like there's really no other questions beyond that. It's a very, very simple transaction compared to the big relationship type thing I was having with these clients. I mean, I'd be building their house for a year and a half. Third thing, type of client is a borrower. That's the best kind of client you can have. A borrower is taking your money as an investor, and their role is to pay you every month, right? They got their interest rate, they got their payment, they've got a term, 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever the term of the loan is, and that's it. And if they don't pay you, well, now basically you're the client. You get to complain. You get to enforce the rules of the loan. You get to foreclose on their property and put pressure on them to get them to pay or to take back the collateral so you can recoup your investment. And so even though that's not fun and that's stressful and that's work, it's not the same because you are in the leveraged position there as the lender. And so in going through this and reshaping my business to where it is today, I don't have one source that has significant leverage and power over me. And the reason I'm hitting on this is because if you don't have that, you don't have freedom. Now, you may not be a contractor, but you might have a boss. You might have a huge client in whatever business that you're working for. And if that client is unhappy, then everybody's unhappy. You may have a business that just takes up so much time and energy, you can't even go on vacation for a week without coming back and just being totally stressed out and your phone blowing up the entire time you're in Florida. And it's just not even worth it because this business has so much power over you. I want you to ask yourself, do I really have freedom? Do I really have autonomy? Am I giving people and situations and businesses leverage over my life to create mass chaos? Is this the life that I wanted to build? Is this where I wanted to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And I finally was like, this is not what I want. The vehicle that got me here, it was fun. I learned a lot of lessons in sales, in relationships, in getting people to trust me with large sums of money to build their custom home, in responsibility and organizing stuff. I learned a lot. Nothing was wasted and I don't regret it at all. But when I looked down the road, I'm 35 years old. At the time, I'm 42 now, but I look down the road, I'm like, do I want to be doing this when I'm 50, when I'm 60? Do I want to be explaining myself and groveling to clients and making excuses for my subs and trying to sell the next job and plead with people to let me remodel their kitchen? No, I don't. That's not what I want. Now, some people do want that, and they're better contractors than me and far successful, and I'm not saying it's not a good business. I'm just saying for what I wanted, autonomy and personal freedom was really important. That's just the way my DNA is wired. And that was top of the list. When I'm giving people or situations too much authority in my life, too much leverage over me, I am not happy. And so what are you going to do about this if you find yourself in this situation? If you're having an honest conversation, what can you, the vehicle that I used was commercial real estate. I already kind of talked about why I do that, the diversification of the income streams, the little microscopic pieces of power that people have over me, because everybody has responsibilities, and if you make promises, you've got to keep them. But now I drive by that same house, because it's still there, still in my town, I still live in this town. I drive by that house and I smile. I smile because that house helped me along the path that I'm on now. God used that pain, that painful situation to help me to pivot and to help me to change and to help me to take steps in the right direction. So if you're looking to explore another avenue, if you're looking to get further into real estate, maybe you already have a couple rental properties, you see the power of real estate and you want to scale and get more diversified, get more autonomy, get more freedom. Well, I'm having a conference in Charleston March 6th, 7th, and 8th. So this spring in Charleston, South Carolina, March 6th, 7th, and 8th, we're doing our 3rd annual Deal Room Live conference. And guys, it is going to open your eyes to what is possible there. We have a lady, her name's Kelly. She's coming. She started a hard money fund about 6 years ago. She started with her own money about 10 years ago, eventually scaled it into the fund that she has now. Guys, this fund has $130 million in it, doing first position hard money loans they're generating 18 to 22% net on the money, and they're paying out 9 to 10% to the investors, and they have 2 to 3% fund costs. So if you do the math on that, they're netting 7, 8, 9% on $130 million every year. And beyond that, this business is a sellable business because it's a fund. Other funds could absorb her fund. She's got a full team built around it, 11, 12 full-time employees. And so this fund in and of itself is an asset. So if their EBITDA, right, if their net profits, let's just say 10% of 130 million, that's 13 million. A fund like that is going to trade at a 5 to 7x multiple. You are talking a, 60 to $100 million net worth company beside, the $13 million in profit that fund is kicking off every year. And she's coming to the conference to talk about how she got into it, how she structured it, and maybe how you can get involved. There's also going to be a guy, Sam. He's talking about how he's raised over $60 million in private investor capital for real estate deals. He's involved and invested in 70 plus multifamily deals, commercial deals, how he started that journey and how he's built it to what he's built it to today, how he's generating leads consistently every week to his inbox of investors who want to get into deals with him. I'm going to be talking about doing private money lending, doing private mortgages. I'm buying houses in the Midwest and selling them for double what I paid on owner-financed mortgages. I'm going to break down how I'm doing that. We're also going to have Tim talking about LIHTC, which is a government program, and layering Section 8 vouchers on that, how he's making deals out of deals that other people are passing on and making millions in the process. Opportunities that you just don't know about, that you just don't see until you're exposed to them. So get in the room with us. I'd love to meet you in person. There was 160 people at the conference last year. We're hoping to blow past that number, but I need your help. I need you to be there because I want you to really think about, where do I want to be 5 years from now? Where do I want to be 10 years from now? I'm going to need different skills. I'm going to need different relationships. And if I want it to look different, I got to start now. If you're already on that journey, you need to expand your network. You need to expand your connections, and you need to give. Because I know it's an ordeal to book a flight and a hotel and come to a conference and spend time away from your time and family. But if you want to advance, you're going to need to give. So guys, go to dealroomlive.com, dealroomlive.com. The prices just went up by $100. So if you're listening to this, it's definitely gone up by now. But if you hit me up, I've got a code for you. I've got a coupon code because you're a listener to the podcast. That coupon code is going to be DealRoom. DealRoom is going to get you $100 off of your conference ticket for podcast listeners only. And I want you to be there. I want to meet you so that you can work on unlocking your life and changing the trajectory of your future and your family's future. All right, guys, make it a great week. Talk soon. Peace.